Come closer, for not everything that is told is forgotten, and not everything that is forgotten was a lie. Once upon a time, on a quiet night just like this, something unexpected happened. It was a time when fire whispered secrets and apples hid their own. This is a story that can only be told to those who dare to listen. It's a tale that has traveled through shadows and across time, waiting for the right moment and the right ears. Are you ready to hear what the whispers have to say? To uncover what lies beneath the surface of the stories you think you know? Then stay with me. The story is about to begin. Make sure you stay subscribed so you don't miss a single chapter of this journey into the unknown. We have a lot to uncover together. Once upon a time, there lived a tailor named Mahmoud. He and his wife shared a simple, happy life, always finding ways to bring each other joy. One day, as Mahmoud was sewing in his shop, a man known as Gold the Hunchback walked by. Gold was a cheerful fellow, always content despite his poverty. He sat near the shop and began to sing, and his beautiful voice delighted Mahmoud. When it was time for Mahmoud to close his shop, Gold was still singing. So, Mahmoud invited him home for dinner, hoping his songs would bring a smile to his wife's face as well. Gold happily accepted. At Mahmoud's home, Gold sang for the couple until dinner was ready. They sat down to a meal of fish. Gold, perhaps a bit too eager, began eating with such greed that he forgot to be careful. Suddenly, a small fish bone got stuck in his throat, and he choked. Mahmoud tried everything he could to save him, but it was too late. Gold stopped breathing. Panic filled the small house. Mahmoud and his wife were terrified. What would they do? After a long, frantic discussion, they came up with a desperate plan. They decided to carry Gold's body to the house of a doctor who lived nearby. When they arrived, they knocked on the door. An elderly maid answered. Mahmoud, trying to sound calm, said, "Please, go tell your master we have a patient who is very, very sick." As the maid went upstairs to fetch the doctor, Mahmoud and his wife saw their chance. They quickly carried Gold's body up the stairs, propped him up against the doctor's door, and then ran back home as fast as they could. The doctor, hearing the urgency, rushed out of his room. It was pitch black on the landing, and he didn't see the body standing there. He bumped into Gold with such force that the body tumbled noisily down the entire flight of stairs. "Bring a lamp," he shouted to his wife. When the light finally arrived, the doctor saw a motionless man lying at the bottom of the stairs. Pure terror gripped his heart. He was confused, panicked, and had no idea what to do. His wife, equally scared, whispered, "We have to get this body out of our house. If anyone finds him here, they'll think we killed him." So, together, the doctor and his wife carried the body up to their roof and over to their neighbor's rooftop. They carefully leaned Gold against a wall and scurried back to their own home, their hearts pounding. A little while later, the neighbor, a wealthy merchant, returned home. As he entered his courtyard, he glanced up and saw the silhouette of a man on his roof. A thief, he thought. Without a second thought, he grabbed a thick stick, rushed up to the roof, and swung it hard at the figure. The blow was so forceful that it actually dislodged the fish bone from Gold's throat. He regained consciousness for a brief moment, only to faint again from the searing pain of being hit. When the merchant saw the man collapse, he was horrified. He believed he had just killed an intruder. He quickly called for his servant. "Take this body," he ordered, his voice trembling, "and get rid of it somewhere far away before sunrise." The servant came and, to his surprise, recognized the man as Gold the Hunchback. Feeling a pang of sadness for the cheerful singer, he carried him away. The servant took the body to a plot of land owned by a poor old woman and her son, Mason. Mason had broken his leg a month earlier and couldn't work. The servant started to dig a grave, but the chilling howls of distant wolves filled him with fear. He dropped his shovel, abandoned the body, and ran for his life, leaving Gold lying in the field. Now, the old woman and Mason had been deeply worried. Winter was coming, and their land was unplowed. The soil was hard, Mason couldn't work with his broken leg, and they were too poor to hire help. They didn't know how they would survive. As the sun began to rise, Gold the Hunchback slowly awoke from his faint. His entire body ached, but he was alive. Confused, he got to his feet and slowly started walking back towards his own home. Meanwhile, the servant had returned to the merchant's house, still shaken from his encounter with the wolves. The merchant anxiously asked him, "What did you do? Is it done?" The servant, still catching his breath, stammered, I buried Gold in the land of the old woman and her son Mason. Unbeknownst to them, a nosy man named Zorar had been eavesdropping on their conversation. He misheard the servant, and his eyes widened with greed. "Gold," he whispered to himself. The merchant buried Gold in the old woman's field. "I have to find it." He rushed to the field and began searching, digging frantically, but found nothing. Frustrated, he went and gathered his relatives and friends, telling them the incredible news he thought he'd overheard. At dawn, Zorar and a large group of men arrived at the old woman's land. Zorar approached her and Mason with a friendly smile. "We know you're having trouble plowing your land," he said generously, "so we've all decided to come and help you out." The old woman and Mason were overwhelmed with gratitude and thanked them profusely. Zorar and his men set to work with incredible energy. They plowed the entire field, turning over every last bit of soil, all while secretly looking for the buried treasure. They plowed that land more thoroughly than it had ever been plowed before. But, of course, they found no gold. While all this was happening, Mahmoud the tailor and his wife were overcome with guilt. They couldn't live with their secret any longer. They went to the doctor's house and confessed everything. The shocked doctor then took them to the merchant's house, and they all explained what had happened. Now, a whole group of them, the merchant and his servant, the doctor and his wife, and the tailor and his wife went together to the old woman's land to set things right. They arrived to find Zorar and his friends looking exhausted and confused. After explaining the entire bizarre story, Zorar scratched his head and said, But we didn't find Gold's body anywhere. Just then, a familiar voice started singing in the distance. Everyone turned, walking towards them, cheerful as ever, with a bandage on his head. Was Gold the Hunchback himself? Everyone stared, their mouths wide open in astonishment. Gold smiled brightly and asked, "What's going on? Why is everyone gathered here?" A wave of relief and disbelief washed over the crowd, and then everyone burst into uncontrollable laughter. The strange, tangled series of events had come to a happy and hilarious end. The old woman and her son Mason had their entire field perfectly plowed for the winter, and Gold was alive and well, ready to sing another day. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this wild tale, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories.